Okay. Hi, Lance.
Hello, Mariah.
I wanted to thank you for meeting with me and for agreeing to be the very first Cool Cat in the Cool Cat video series, which really seeks to introduce interesting people across the disability spectrum. And I ask the same set of questions to everyone. And the differences in the responses really kind of emphasize how different we all are and how we, our perspectives on things and what we enjoy and like and all the rest of it. So that's all okay?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, can you start by introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Lance Kamaka. Actually, my whole name is Lancelot. Like the Knight of the Round Table. And Sir Lancelot Kamaka, my mom named me that. So blame it on my mom. Well, but I prefer people to call me Lance because it sounds more ordinary, like, hey, Lance. Yeah, you know. Some people will call me Lance a lot, like my stepdad, like he's addressing the king or something. Lancelot. Like one time I told him, bow the knee, and he says, no, I don't bow to anybody. So yeah. So I have been born blind, and when I graduated, I started to lose some hearing. Um, but at that time, only my doctor and my mom knew. And at that time, they told me that there was no cure for my hearing loss. It's sensory neural. At that time, I was um, in denial, but it was so gradual that hardly anybody knew. Only, like I said, only my mom and my doctor knew about it. So I kept it under wraps for say 8 to 10 years until it became noticeable. And then people started saying I would try to bluff my way through by thinking that I could hear when I couldn't hear. And people would tell me things like, aren't you paying attention? And I was thinking, man, I would rather have a hearing loss than, having a brain loss, not paying attention. So that, and certain people who persisted that I try wearing hearing aids, I decided, well, I'm gonna do that. And I was with a vocational rehab counselor at that time, and she said that I would they would get me one hearing aid, which is not really, looking in hindsight, wasn't a good thing, because after all, we hear with 2 ears, and being blind, I rely so much on my ears, not only to hear but to perceive where I am in relation to where other things are. There's that spatial awareness of direction. So when I got one hearing aid, I only wore it once, and I put it in the drawer, and that was it. Then my
Lance, why
counselor
did
every
she only
now,
give you one? I'm sorry. Was there a reason she only gave you one? Why did she only give you one?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it was just like try out kind of thing. I don't know.
Mm.
But then she kept asking me, have you been using your hearing aid? I said, I can't. I can't because when I wear one hearing aid, it throws me off. I get
Mm-hmm.
disoriented. And
Mm-hmm.
so she said, well, would it do better if we get two, another one? I said, yes, try that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got
Uh-huh.
another hearing aid. And then I decided, well, I'm going to get used to the hearing aids because after all, our brain adapts to
Mm-hmm.
what we hear. So I
Mm-hmm.
decided, okay, I'm going to wear these two hearing aids as long as I can, all day, every day, except when I take a shower or go to sleep. And I found it to be pretty good, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then through the years, I started to get better ones. And when
Mm-hmm.
in 1990, I got um, digital hearing aids, and
Mm-hmm.
that was okay. I needed to get used to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to the present, now my
Mm-hmm.
hearing has gone from mild to
Mm-hmm.
moderate severe, and that's where it
Mm-hmm.
is now. And I now wear phonak, um, Nadia,
Mm-hmm.
Paradise. Anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a musician. I play music. I
Uh-huh.
used to have a job playing at a restaurant bar called La
Uh-huh.
Mariana. Um,
Mm.
and
So so
yeah,
we'll maybe we'll get into that just a little bit further into the questions, but so the because I definitely want to hear more about your musician history and all of that. Like I I love your music, you know that. And I want everyone watching to know that at the end of this, we're going to have a performance by Lance, one of his songs that he'll be singing, not during the interview, but we're going to add it in afterwards. Okay. But yeah, Lance is an incredible musician and he is a wonderful artist and obviously very, very great storyteller too. But so Lance, the next question that I ask everybody is, do you prefer Star Trek or Star Wars?
oh, I prefer definitely Star Trek,
Right on. Yes. So
the
Lance, right
classic.
behind my head, I have a little, I have the Star Trek emblem right behind my head. It's hanging on my wall.
Oh,
Yes, I too prefer Star Trek. So, and the next question that I ask everybody is if you could live in any other country for 2 years, where would you go?
um, well, when I till maybe about a couple of years ago, I was I wouldn't mind going to Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because as a musician, I love rock and roll, and I heard
Mm-hmm.
the roots of
Mm-hmm.
that kind of music, rock and roll, rhythm and blues, um, the blues, jazz, all that has its roots in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't mind going there. Um, but a couple of years ago, I met a friend who I've become pretty close to, and she lives in New Zealand,
Uh-huh.
and I wouldn't mind going there
Yeah.
for a couple of years or something.
Yeah. That sounds great. And if we had a big community um party and everybody was bringing a dish, like a potluck, what dish would you bring to our community picnic potluck?
Oh, I'll bring raw fish. Um, they call it Hawaiian poke because you have
Uh-huh.
like I like raw fish. I like the limu. I like the shoyu. A little bit of shoyu, a little bit of salt, and yes, I'll bring that.
Sounds delicious.
Oh,
Yeah.
can I go back to the Star Trek one?
Yeah,
Would it be
sure.
okay?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like the original Star Trek. I grew up listening to it, um,
Mm-hmm.
and because a lot of these old shows have more dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in fact, back in the old days, way back, they didn't have
Mm-hmm.
TVs; they had radios. So
Mm-hmm.
you can use your imagination. But
Mm-hmm.
as with the advent of television, and then you have color TV, and then you have video, and then you have
Mm-hmm.
all these different platforms that have like Netflix, all that stuff, they kind of
Mm-hmm.
veered away from using much dialogue. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of it appeals to the eyes. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's with the Star Trek, there was a lot of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Then when it got to like the next generation, it became
Mm-hmm.
more visual, Deep Space
Mm-hmm.
Nine, all that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then also with the ongoing of Star Trek, the things that they had were more far out. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like Star Trek with
Mm-hmm.
they had the communicator. Now we have cell
Uh-huh.
phones that are close.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yes.
with artificial intelligence, now you get those, you can
Mm-hmm.
get like, I hear they have these wearable devices now that kind of can tell you pretty much everything. Your
Mm-hmm.
medical, your phone does that too now.
Mm-hmm.
So Star Trek, the classic was more, I guess, near future. It was
Mm-hmm.
right around the corner, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my take on that.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I love Star Trek because it's such a cool vision of the future. And I also have found it to be really inspirational by way of disability. Like, I've loved that the chief engineer in Next Generation is blind. I love that they have interpreters that were deaf, like translators that were actually deaf. And they really saw things in a completely different way, and I really love that.
Yeah, that's cool. I found books
Mm-hmm.
that I could read
Mm-hmm.
about the next generation and stuff. It was a lot better than uh, the actual program because I could read. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
things are better than reading.
Mm-hmm.
All the movies um, that I viewed, I like reading them. I think the exception, really, the one that scared me the most,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I didn't have, I heard it, and that was in 1973 when they came out with The Exorcist. Oh, to
Oh.
me, that was the scariest movie of all time. And I didn't have to read it to be scared. All I got to do is hear. There were all these sound effects. I was thinking, wow,
Uh-huh.
I wonder how they got away with recording, doing all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I really love about talking with you is that you always make me think about things that I hadn't thought about. And for me, you're right. Star Trek is super visual. And I think that's why I liked it so much, is because I am profoundly deaf. And I don't remember a time when I was not. So I love things that are super visual. And you're right, it is very, very visual. So, and I hadn't
Yeah,
thought about.
they call that same difference, you know. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same that we have disabilities, but different that, like you were deaf most of your life. I was
Yeah.
blind most of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
same difference.
Yeah. Same but different.
Yeah.
So can you move into talking a little bit about your background as a musician, just your career trajectory? How'd you get started? How did it unfold? I'd love to hear more about
Well, as long as I can remember,
that. Hmm.
I felt like I had something. I mean, I know my mom.
Hmm.
My mom, she she used to sing in nightclubs,
Hmm.
and I remember one time, um, my relatives took me to see her, and I
Hmm.
heard her singing.
Uh-huh.
But um, when I guess when I was 8 years old,
Hmm.
I went to my cousin's house, and they had a piano,
Hmm.
and I could actually go on the piano, and I could hear what people were singing and actually play. Now it was very, very, very basic. I didn't know anything about chords. I just
Uh-huh.
played the note that they were singing, and I didn't realize
Wow.
what it was called until later on, and it's called perfect pitch.
Wow.
Um, there's I think one out of a, a million, 1,000, or something. I don't know. I forget the statistics, but there are people like myself who were born with perfect pitch, where somebody can
Wow.
play something and you can tell them. Um, well, as I got to know what the notes were, or in my small kid time, I could just
Hmm.
play the piano, and I could hear what other people were singing and just play the note I was singing. And I could also listen to the radio and do that. Now, I have two other brothers who are also born blind, and they also have
Hmm.
hearing impairments. And three of us, we were musicians at a
Hmm.
very young age.
Hmm.
Um, we used to listen to the radio, and we used to pick up on songs, and we used to
Uh-huh.
sing. And I was the one that used to like to arrange things and tell people what to do. I was sort of
Uh-huh.
like the leader. So I would tell my
Wow.
brothers, okay, I want you to sing this, brother. Uh, I want you to sing this, other brother. And we'd start singing and would
Uh-huh.
harmonize, you
Wow.
know. And my mom then would come in and she'd like, oh, I gotta tell them your stepdad this. Wow, listen to these guys. So they come in and they're like really surprised, and they're saying,
Uh-huh.
wow, that um in the pigeon there was a shot, which is
Uh-huh.
terrific, great. So um so wow, you guys sound sharp, sharp. So as we got older, um well, it's kind of a long story, but we got to the point where we actually had instruments, and we
Hmm.
used to play for like um, parties, small family parties. Um, but at that time, we were just playing rock and roll. Um, the late 60s, right to the early 70s, there were like Motown groups that came out, like the Jackson
Hmm.
Five. My younger brother
Hmm.
could sing just like Michael Jackson. So
Wow.
he was like the ace of our group. And
Wow.
you know, as my friend would say, this was Michael Jackson before he, well, this is when he was black,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
when he
because
was
after
black.
a while, his skin color of his skin changed,
Yeah.
yeah, to the,
Yeah.
to his present, to his death. Um, but yeah, so we started playing music, and then I asked my mom, my stepdad, and um my cousin, my uncle joined us, and we had a like a big assembly group formed
Mm-hmm.
together, a family group, and we called
Yeah.
ourselves the Three Jewels and a Pearl.
Nice.
Now, the Three Jewels was my mom's making. She said she read a book. It was about this queen who had three sons, and she called them she called them her jewels.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom said, "Oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to call them the Three Jewels." So that's how we got the name Three Jewels. And then my
Mm-hmm.
cousin had a drum set. He played drums, and he had a pearl made drum set. So that's how the Three Jewels and the Pearl came about.
Oh,
And
nice.
so we
So
played
the pearl
all,
was actually the drums?
yeah,
The pearl was the drums?
yeah, it was pearl made drum set.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
And my cousin started when he was only like 7, 8 years old.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's very
We all
young,
started
huh?
young. Yeah, but
Wow.
we had that gift for music.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we played music for many years. Then
Yeah.
personnel kind of changed. My cousin grew
Mm-hmm.
up, went on his own.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my uncle, well,
Mm-hmm.
he had problems with alcohol, and that kind of got in the
Mm-hmm.
way. So
Mm-hmm.
then we had to. My older brother hearing got to the point where he couldn't hear anymore, felt
Mm.
isolated, and decided to give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I pretty much the last one to keep on playing music
Mm-hmm.
right now. I play keyboards, I play ukulele, I used to play some
Mm-hmm.
guitar. When I was
Wow.
in intermediate, I played drums. High school, I
Uh-huh.
played a little bit of saxophone, and I
Wow.
sing. So music, I can't imagine my life without music. I think to
Yeah.
myself, how many friends will I have if I wasn't playing music? I think music has
Mm-hmm.
really got me connected.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, and I love your music. I love your voice and I love your playing style. It's always
thank
just
you.
you really do have a gift. So I'm wondering, next question on the list, the same set of questions, right? Then the next question is really about the near future. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
Uh, you know, when I was younger, I used to think
Mm-hmm.
about those things. I used
Uh-huh.
to think, oh yeah, when I grew up, I want to be a scientist because I was interested in science, or a
Uh-huh.
technologist because I was interested in technology. But music has always been the one that ruled out everything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but right now, I'm not sure. I
Mm-hmm.
I want to continue my music as long as I can, even though right
Mm-hmm.
now it's just playing for music, church, and then
Mm-hmm.
like some of my friends will get together. We have jam sessions. I'd like to keep that
Mm-hmm.
going, but really, I think I just want to take one day at a time and see where it
Mm-hmm.
leads.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds very, very, very present centered, huh? Just one day at a time and see where that leads and like let the doors open as they will, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the next question is, not to be morbid, but what do you want people to remember about you when you've gone?
I want people to remember me as a talented musician.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to remember me, at least my friends, I want them to remember me
Mm-hmm.
as somebody who tried to be nice to people. I think
Mm-hmm.
um my mom just passed away about a year ago, and her
I'm
legacy
sorry.
is I like to carry on that legacy. And that was my
Mm-hmm.
mom was very loving. She is always smile. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
kept her young. That kept her young. She loved music, of
Mm-hmm.
course, but she loved to
Mm-hmm.
smile. And
Mm-hmm.
she forgave people that she
Mm-hmm.
had misgivings with. I think
Mm-hmm.
the bridges between her and others were never teared down. I think the most thing is she would leave them alone, but whenever they meet, they would hug and they would be forgiving. And I want to be, I want to be that kind of person. I want
Yeah.
to be forgiving.
Yeah.
I want to be loving, just like my mom.
Yeah.
I don't like to hold grudges,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that about you, and the years actually that we've been friends now is just how positive and loving you really are. And you just really seem to uplift people around you because you just seem to really focus on positive things.
Yeah. And over the years, I think a few regrets that I've had is that I've taken some of my friends for granted.
Yeah.
So now I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So every chance that I get, I
Yeah.
want to tell them
Yeah.
how much I love them,
Yeah.
especially the really good friends.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about acquaintances. That's different. But
Yeah.
friends who I've become really close to,
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell them
Yeah.
that they're well loved and needed and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. And so so beautiful, so from the heart.
Yeah.
um it's So I was wondering about disability, which is the next section on the questionnaire, is because we go through these different places in our lives, I think, with regard to disability, where we learn and we grow and we develop, and there's different times in our life maybe when we struggle more than other times. And I was wondering if you could say something to yourself in the past, that is, the you that was really struggling with something related to disability. What would you say?
I would say, Lance, when you first started losing your hearing, you could have, you should have grabbed the reins,
Mm-hmm.
really just go all out. But I didn't think, I thought that I would, I didn't think that even with my older brother losing his hearing almost
Mm-hmm.
completely,
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't think it would happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have told myself,
Mm-hmm.
Lance, you need to live to the hilt. Just
Mm-hmm.
live it up. And I don't mean by eating, drinking, and be merry. I mean like take your music to the next level. Do the best you can with
Mm-hmm.
the hearing that you have.
Mm-hmm.
I would have told myself that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I still could tell myself that. Still could.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, I
Uh-huh.
still do have enough hearing,
Uh-huh.
but there's some accommodations that I'm trying to make with the lack of hearing that I lost hearing. So being blind, really,
Mm-hmm.
it's no big deal.
Yeah.
The only big deal about being blind is that when people, like I've had people who um who would tell me, there's this one lady, she had a YouTube channel, and she'll say, "Oh," she'll email me and she'll tell me, "Oh, that's my friend. I hope you can see this video." And I told her numerous times, "I'm blind. I can't see." So a lot of these videos that she send, sometimes I don't comment on them because I
Yeah.
can't see them.
Yeah.
The only thing I can appreciate is the music. But
Mm-hmm.
there are some videos that I can actually hear that she
Mm-hmm.
sends that are more than just seeing it. And I
Mm-hmm.
will comment on that. I will let her know that, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is cool. I like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Um, but I tell myself, yeah, just live your life to the fullest.
Mm-hmm. Live your life to your fullest. Live your life to the fullest.
Besides
Absolutely.
eating to the fullest.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what do you like about your particular disability? And I realize you
Uh,
have more than one, so you know that you can choose which one you like more.
well, I think um, not being able to see,
Mm-hmm.
I I can do things that people cannot do in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
I could read.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need no light.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need no full screen.
Mm-hmm.
All I need is braille
Mm-hmm.
dots. I can read them. In fact, I used that to my advantage while growing up. When I was boarding in school, bedtime was at 8 o'clock, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I didn't feel like going to sleep, so I would
Mm-hmm.
grab a book, put it under my pillow,
Uh,
under my sheet, and I would start reading. And then when
Wow.
I would hear somebody walking up the hall, coming towards my room, I would stop and act like I'm sleeping. And
Mm-hmm.
when the footsteps would die out, then I would
Mm-hmm.
start reading again. And yeah, so um, and then lately, as far as hearing, maybe the thing I like about not having my hearing loss is getting involved in gossip,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And sometimes um, people talk about other people, other
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I um I don't like to talk about that. So I'm blessed in a
Yeah.
way that I can hear.
Yeah.
Uh, of course, I won't be bothered by other people snoring when I sleep. I used to, when I was small, I used to board in the dorm, and uh, I was, me and my brother used to be in the same room, and I could hear him
Mm-hmm.
snoring, and
Mm-hmm.
um, it used to keep me awake for a while.
Mm.
So yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like because you said dorm and you've said boarding. So where'd you go to school and how long were you there for?
Oh, okay. Well, I entered grade school. It was
Mm-hmm.
called, at that time, it was called Diamond Head School, but it
Mm-hmm.
changed over 100 times, or
Mm-hmm.
many times actually. 100 times is a little bit of exaggeration, but
Uh-huh.
they called it, when I left, they called it Hawaii School for the Deaf and Blind. And
Mm-hmm.
then they called it Hawaii Statewide Center. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I went to that school for 6 years. And um, I actually, in my seventh grade year, I went to Washington Intermediate. But that year, I also went back to boarding at the dorm at um, Diamond Head School, Hawaii School for the Deaf and the Blind. But that
Mm-hmm.
was the last year. And then they kind of shut down that dorm and they
Mm-hmm.
just had it for deaf, because I think they started to go mainstream
Mm-hmm.
where the blind would actually go to the school in their districts. Well,
Mm-hmm.
in my days, um, Diamond Head School, grade that was my grade school, and then intermediate was Washington Intermediate, and then high school was McKinley. Those
Mm-hmm.
were the only schools that provided the facilities like Braille writers, Braille books,
Mm-hmm.
line. But as the years went by, it started to go mainstream where you can go to a school in your district and
Mm-hmm.
they had all the facilities for the blind, which I think it's kind of good because then you start to mingle with other people. You're not just limited to just deaf, blind. You meet others.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think you become less sheltered.
Mm-hmm.
You know, uh, I think I know other people who would testify to that. Other blind people
Mm-hmm.
that in our days, my days, Diamond Head School was
Mm-hmm.
a school just for deaf, blind, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it was pretty nice to go mainstream, which some of my
Mm-hmm.
young friends are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's really, really interesting. What, um, I'm still so curious about more things about the school. Like when you were, and I'm wondering if we could talk just a little tiny bit about it before we move on in the questions. I was just wondering, did you go home on the weekends, or and your brothers,
Yeah,
they were there with you in the school,
yeah.
or how did it
My
work?
brothers, my brothers and I would stay. Well, actually, would come on Sundays, Sunday nights, to go to
Uh-huh.
the dorm, and they will stay
Hmm.
there from Monday to Fridays. Friday after school would go home. There would
Hmm.
be like a special school bus that would take us home, or sometimes my mom would come and pick us up.
Uh-huh.
Because home I would spend the weekends at home.
Why did they have kids dorm? Because it was on your same island, right? So why did they
Well,
have?
a lot of it was, there were other people from outer islands that came, and so the dorms really suited them well.
Mhm.
For us, my mom wanted us to be in the dorm because my mom had to work.
Okay.
And so that's why she had my brothers and I board in the school.
Hmm.
And we liked it.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it better than home, really.
Yeah. 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 I can believe that. I know my brother and I would have loved something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on in the question list. So because I know you and I, we can really talk stories for a long time and get a little diverted. Um, but is there Is there any one thing that you wish people would get, that they would really understand about disability, that they don't understand, they don't seem to get?
Yeah, a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One thing, to be both deaf blind really makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Really makes a difference.
Yeah.
I've had a friend who told me, well, you know, your friend is losing his hearing, but my friend can see.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes a difference
Yeah.
when you have both, like me, where I was born blind
Yeah.
and I use my ears as my eyes,
Yeah.
then starting to lose my hearing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish people would understand that it's I I don't mean, I just mean them to understand. I don't ask for pity or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought up asking, believing you shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have people feel sorry for you.
Mm-hmm.
Although people will. It's a given.
Mm-hmm.
You can't stop that.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is you can live by example, showing
Mm-hmm.
them, hey, I'm just like you,
Mm-hmm.
except I do have dual disabilities. And
Mm-hmm.
I get by with
Mm-hmm.
technology,
Mm-hmm.
with things
Mm-hmm.
that would help me, accommodations made,
Mm-hmm.
hearing aid, assistive listening devices,
Mm-hmm.
those things.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I would wish people would understand is that, well, I guess I covered that about feeling sorry. People say, oh, poor thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember when I used to ride the city bus when I had more hearing. I was on the bus one time and this guy, I know he was Chinese because I had that accent, yeah. So he
Mm-hmm.
started saying, hey, I want to give you a $5 bill. I said, I don't need it. He goes, oh, you're blind, you're blind. I need to give you, I feel bad for you. And I said, no, 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 I don't need that $5 bills. You keep it. And I kept insisting. And then he kind of, I don't know, I think he got angry with me, upset. But, you know,
Yeah.
just don't like people doing that.
Yeah.
It's kind of patronizing,
Oh, yeah.
saying, "Oh yeah, oh poor thing, this guy, he has a dual disability, so we'll treat him extra nice," you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
those are the things.
Yeah.
Oh, Mariah, I need to ask you
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I I have until 12:30.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. So
Right
we're,
now it's 12:15, I think.
yep, 12:15. So we only have
Sorry, I just
two more questions. Is that okay?
okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the next one is a fun one. What single piece of technology, or what technology makes your life easier?
Oh yeah,
I know you like your tech.
I do.
Yeah.
The thing that well, actually, there are two things
Uh-huh.
that really, I don't know, it just opens up worlds for me.
Mhm.
Um, Back in 2011, I had quite a bit of money to buy myself an iPhone,
Mhm.
and Siri was the novelty. I heard
Mhm.
about Siri, and man, you
Mhm.
could ask it all kinds of stuff. I heard it on the news. They were talking about they had a demonstration of Siri, and I said, "Oh man, I gotta get this phone." And
Mhm.
one of my blind friends, who is a tech whiz,
Mhm.
works for a company called island skill gathering. He told me, "Oh, Lance, you need to get an iPhone. The iPhone will tell you everything. It's very accessible. Only problem is you can't get it to shut up. It'll talk to you." And I said,
Uh-huh.
"Wow." So I decided to get one in 2011. And
Uh-huh.
I was having fun with Siri. I would ask him, crazy questions. And then when I
Mhm.
wanted to do texting, I used to text my girlfriend, and I
Mhm.
used to talk to Siri, and she used to say, my girlfriend used to say, "Who's Iris?" And I said, "I didn't say that. I said, it's Siri." Siri is saying that. But one of the I
Uh-huh.
am really surprised to this day. Siri has not improved a bit. But anyway,
Mhm.
back to the two piece of equipment. Um,
Mhm.
in 2012, well, I had enough of Siri, using Siri, because Siri would get it wrong. So I learned to use gestures on my
Mhm.
phone,
Mhm.
hand gestures, and I would
Mhm.
have to use my headphones because they didn't have Bluetooth at that time,
Mhm.
which really was a game changer.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so in 2012,
Mhm.
they had this program called the I Can Connect, which
Mhm.
is um, sponsored by the National Helen Keller Center for the Deaf and Blind and the FCCA, um, the Federal Communications Service.
Mhm.
Um, they offered this program that you can get, like, provided that you have a low financial income,
Mhm.
they'll give you free telecommunications devices,
Mhm.
provided that you're deaf, blind, hard of hearing, like me, blind.
Mhm.
And so that's when, with my iPhone, I got my Braille Note, which
Mhm.
is pretty much like this equipment that I have here.
Mhm.
Uh,
How
um,
does that work? How does that work?
it
I was.
has it has a Braille display.
Uh-huh.
So I just turned it on, so I read whatever is on the screen.
Mhm.
Now, in addition to that, with my phone, I learned to go into settings,
Mhm.
and I could um, pair my my Braille machine, my Braille note, to my phone, and that would
Mhm.
allow me to read whatever's on the
Mhm.
screen on my phone, be it texting, email, Facebook, Messenger, what have you, anything. I could read on my phone, and then when I send text messaging, I could write on the keyboard, which is
Mhm.
on this thing. I have a keyboard.
Mhm.
I could write a text to somebody, they would receive it,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, and then they would send me text message, and I would get notification, and I could read it in Braille. Now, those
Oh.
are the two things that I value so much.
Mhm.
And I know from experience, by when one day I forgot my phone at home. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is something you almost cannot live without."
Yeah.
It was my right arm, you know.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
my phone and my Braille display,
Yeah. Yeah.
two things.
Yeah. Those are really incredible.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And
and it's
I didn't realize how much they help us communicate because, you and I have been on the phone together. We've been on Zoom chats together. We've really communicated because we live on different islands, right? So you're on Oahu and I'm on Hawaii Island. And so I don't you know, it's always this virtual communication. And then that one time that I actually met you in person, and it was so surprising because, you couldn't see me and I could see you, but our hearing aids were not tuned in to the technology. So we we couldn't hear each other.
Oh, that's another
It was,
thing. That's
I
another
know
thing.
it was
The
really,
hearing aid with Bluetooth capability has been a game changer. So I had that as a
yeah,
third piece of technology.
yeah, yeah. I have to agree with you. Yeah, but
Shall
yeah,
we move to the last question?
that's so cool. Yeah. So the last question is, well, it's just where else we can find you online. And so I was going to put the link in there to your YouTube channel. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. And that's it. And thank you so
Oh,
much, Lance.
I wanted to add real quick.
Yeah.
Um, Last week I went with a bunch of friends. Well, actually, a couple of friends and my brother went to visit the Iolani Palace, and I met
Uh-huh.
this lady who knows my mom, who knows me. She works there, and she asked me if I wanted to play the piano for the Queen. The piano actually made the Queen's piano, and
Wow.
it was an awesome experience. I played a
Oh,
song called Queen's Jubilee. Now it's on my
oh,
YouTube channel. You can share that one.
oh. Thank you. I can't wait to listen to it and to see it myself. Well, thank you, Lance.
Sure.
Thank
You're
you. Okay.
welcome.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.